Hello, my name is Laura Beatrix Newmark, and I am the director of LABA at the 14th Street Y. LABA is a laboratory for Jewish culture where we use classic Jewish texts to inspire the creation of art, ideas, and dialogue. And along with around 10 fellows from all different artistic mediums, we do a deep dive into this study around a specific theme. And the theme this year is humor. So today, I'm excited because it's the second show in a three-part series showcasing the work of LABA Fellows on the virtual 14th Street Y's Wednesday Artist Corner. And today, I'm introducing our wonderful LABA Fellow Rokhl Kafrissen, who is taking us behind the scenes to look at her play Shtumer Shabes and the storied Yiddish theater world. We are really lucky that we'll be joined by a group of Yiddish theater luminaries, and we'll get a chance to really understand behind the scenes and see some of the performance played out. So without further ado, here's LABA Fellow Rokhl Kafrissen's Behind the Scenes of Shtumer Shabes. Enjoy.
Weit in der Midwe fin heiße Sinn verbrennt.
Thanks, Laura, and good afternoon. This is Caraid O'Brien speaking to you live from the panicked pandemic headquarters of the Yiddish Broadcasting Network. We just heard Seymour Rexite sing his interpretation of Miserlou. Now, Seymour was an incredible actor, singer, manager, union man, and together with his wife Miriam Crescent, who wrote the lyrics to that song, was on the Yiddish radio on WEVD for over 50 years with their program on the history of the Yiddish theater. In today's program, Shin is for Shtumer Shabes. We're going back to the turn of the last century, when a new generation picked up the torch of Yiddish performance art from Seymour and some of his contemporaries. Then, we're going to see a few short excerpts of a brand new play about the Yiddish theater by Rokhl Kafrissen called Shtumer Shabes. This play is set in turn-of-the-century New York. It centers around two young 20-something grad students and Yiddishists named Gareth and Jess, played by Dylan Seders Hoffman and Max Roll. They befriend one of their East Village neighbors, a 90-something-year-old Yiddish diva that I'm going to play, named Sonia Scheinfeld. Jess is an intrepid researcher, and she discovered that Sonia played the lead in a 1938 performance of a play called Shtumer Shabes in Warsaw at their largest Yiddish theater, several thousand seat ever. This play caused such a sensation that it caused riots and was never performed again and disappeared from Yiddish theater history once and for all. But Jess is determined to find out the real story behind the script and to perhaps even discover the script itself. So, to recap, this is a play about a play, both called Shtumer Shabes. It's a Yiddish theater mystery and a story about how history and art are passed on from generation to generation, or maybe even lost. It just so happens that I began my Yiddish theatrical career around the time this play was set. I came to New York in the 90s and began working with the last stars of the Yiddish theater alongside my very close friend and everybody's favorite Yiddish theater artist, Shane Baker. Welcome, Shane. Oh, there he is. There he is in the flesh, the one and only. Yes, Alechem Shalom. So Shane and I shared an incredible mentor, the Yiddish theater actress LABA Fellow, who was the last surviving member of the Vilna troupe. She was in the original production of the Dybbuk. She performed throughout the world together with her husband. And I met LABA when I was researching a play she performed in Romania in 1924 that influenced a young Eugene Ionesco. And Shane, tell us about your experience meeting LABA.
Well, When I came to New York back in the early 90s, I developed my interest in Yiddish theater and was simultaneously pursuing a career on the English language stage. And like every good transplant from the Midwest to New York City who hopes to make it in the theater, I was waiting table, in my case at Tavern on the Green. Now, one Sunday during brunch, I walked by a table and heard two older women, and I overheard a Yiddish sentence. So I stopped. At this time, I'd already started studying a bit of Yiddish, having been bitten by the bug after seeing Mirele Efros with Sephoira Speisman, Shifra Lehrer, and of course Mina Bern. So when I recognized the Yiddish, I stopped. I said, "You kennt Yiddish?" And one of the women gave a bit of a laugh. "Oh, avade ken ich Yiddish. Ich bin a Yiddische Aktrisse." And this was LABA Fellow. We spoke for a little bit, and she invited me to meet her outside of the restaurant at some point, to come over for a tongue sandwich and a plate of soup, which I did. And we became fast friends and worked together and with you on various things over the next 10 years or so, I guess it would be.
Yeah, it was, and thank you for bringing Luba into the room. I felt her presence as you recounted that meeting, and Luba loved Shane more than anyone else. She just adored him. And so the first time Shane and I performed together in a Yiddish project was in 1999. We both performed on stage in God of Vengeance, in my Yiddish translation of God of Vengeance, which set Showworld aflame, according to Village Voice, because it was set on stage at Showworld, the former Adult Entertainment Emporium, on 42nd and 8th. Shane, do you have a memory of that performance and the people who came to see it that you could share with us?
I do have some memories, amazingly. Uh, well, I mean, you have to understand the situation of show world at the time. Giuliani had just gotten past those 60-40 regulations to eliminate porn theaters near churches, schools, residential neighborhoods, and that closed down a lot of the porn shops on 42nd Street, but Show World was the largest and could easily give up about 60% of its space and maintain a healthy, so to speak, porn environment in the remaining 40%. So they turned over that large area to Aaron and Toto Connada, and we had, I think it was with brass pole in the center still,
Mhm.
and the mirrors on the walls, and we'd even have fellows in trench coats wandering up into the space from time to time, so they had to put up signs stating that uh, no live girls were present, and they were really confused, those old guys, when they'd come in and there were all these beautiful young women scantily clad for the prostitute scenes in God of Vengeance. But on a Sunday afternoon, up those same mirrored staircases through the heavy ammonia scent from the mop man would wander the last of the Mohicans of the Yiddish world. People like Sephoira Speisman, Rushka Alexander, Mina Bern, and all of the others in their fur coats with their blue hair and their white gloves. They'd come up to see our show. You wouldn't have caught them in that space under any other conditions I can imagine. It was quite a confluence of worlds.
It was. I remember we had the journalists Maurice Shapes and Itchy Goldberg, the Yiddish journalist, coming to see the show, and he wanted to speak to me afterwards. And I was playing Hindle, the head prostitute, so I was excited for his comments on my translation. And he turned and he looked at me and he said, "You have big, beautiful breasts." And I said, "Thank you." And that was the end of that conversation. But we have Aaron Beall here with us, and he began his Yiddish theater career staging of life of the Yiddish theater along with us at that time on 1999. So, Aaron, tell us a little bit about your experiences at Show World and bringing together, Yiddish theater at that moment in New York history.
Oh, well, thank you, Caraid. It's so great to be here in the panic room of the Yiddish Broadcasting Network during this pandemic. Yeah, it was an amazing time. It was just, God of Vengeance was our first play at Show World. And now I had run Nada, which was one theater at 167 Ludlow, but it was also a series of theaters around that Ludlow area, and each one of them, because of gentrification, was kind of going down one at a time. And I sort of had this little escape hatch, which was Show World. And I went to see a show up there at it was the Collapsible Giraffe, and that was the name of the company, and I loved that name, the Collapsible Giraffe. And I saw their show, and they mentioned to me that Show World was looking for somebody to run the entire complex. And I went in for a meeting, and the next day I was running 18,000 square feet at the corner of 42nd and 8th. And our first show in the Go-Go Room was God of Vengeance. And if you remember, there's the respectable house upstairs and the brothel downstairs, even as there was a peep show downstairs. So we had an amazing cast. It was kind of your wonderful translation. It was just really great. And you and Shane and Mark Greenfield and Andrew Dario and Corey Carthu and Vered Henkin. It was just an amazing group of actors. And that show really, it was a rebirth of Yiddish theater in a way, right in the middle of Midtown. It was great.
Thanks, Aaron. And now I want to bring in the playwright of Shtumer Shabes, who brought us all together, the reason why we're all here today, Rokhl Kafrissen. Hi, Rokhl.
Hi, Caraid.
Oh, it's great to see you. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired you to create these characters in Shtumer Shabes?
Well, there are quite a few real-life elements that are there in the characters, but probably the greatest inspiration to the story and the characters is my now over a decade-long friendship with Shane Baker, who we just met. And Shane had these incredible relationships, mentorships, friendships with these actresses, which I'm absolutely fascinated by. First of all, the intergenerational dynamic is very interesting to me, the intercultural dynamic. And the way that those friendships shaped his life are really interesting. So I really wanted to explore that. I'm interested in the ethnographic exchange because folklore collecting and cultural transmission is such an important part of the klezmer and Yiddish world that I'm in. So I wanted to explore all the questions and tensions that come up when you have this meeting between older generations and younger generations. So I really love the idea of using a younger character and an older character, and Shane just presented the sort of platonic ideal of it, and I was really inspired by that.
And what made you decide to set it in 2000, which kind of Aaron and Shane described so vividly?
Yeah, it feels to me like it was really a moment when things started to change in New York, of course, and also in the world of New York Yiddish theater. In 1999, you had this amazing production of God of Vengeance at Show World. One of my very, very first jobs in New York was in, I believe, 98. And I was working in the office at the Folksbiene, and it was at that moment when the leadership of the Folksbiene was transitioning from the old guard, from Tzipora and Elise, over to Zalman and Eleanor. So there were a couple of these generational transition moments happening, and it felt like a real moment of inflection and reflection.
And tell us about the character of Jess. Was that inspired by your own life during that time, or?
In a certain sense, yeah, it was. When I entered the klezmer and Yiddish world, I was an early 20s, really eager, as we say, verbrannte Yiddishist, and very excited to delve into everything that this culture held, and also everything that New York held. So I was really, really heated up about that. And 20 years later, I'm no longer that young kid. I'm not old, but not young. So 20 years felt like a really good chunk of time on which to reflect back on what it's like to be young and to go on that journey. And 2 years ago, I was at Yiddish New York at the student concert, and I saw Dylan perform a song, and she just came out of nowhere and blew everyone away. So when I started to write this play and I started to think about these characters, I was really thinking about Dylan's energy and her embodying all these things of being a young person. And in a lot of ways, I related to her and the journey that she was clearly starting to go on in terms of learning Yiddish and meeting all these people. But also, things are very different now. So that's really interesting to me to reflect on people who are 20 years younger than me and see what it's like for them and to be inspired by them. So when it came time to think about who might play Jess, I thought I really want to get Dylan.
Oh, well, you were successful in that. And so let's patch Dylan in, and
Great.
hear a little bit about her role in all of this. Hey, Dylan,
Oh, hi. Thank you for having me.
where are you coming to us from in this wide pandemic world?
Cleveland, Ohio, the beautiful city.
And is that what do I see in your lap there? Is it an instrument of some sort?
Oh, yeah, I didn't realize I had this here. This is my ukulele.
And so tell us, you have prepared something. You're a triple threat. You're an actor, a Yiddishist, and a singer. So tell us what you've performed or about to perform for us.
Right, so I'm currently in the process of writing a song cycle called Cuyahoga County Skyline. Um, and one of the songs in the song cycle is Often Gessel Voinst Du from Mein Shana Lady. So on the street where you live from My Fair Lady. And I found this translation into Yiddish in the Jewish Sound Archive at the University of Pennsylvania. And I transcribed it just for you and everyone here today.
Well, let's roll that tape. I can't wait to see it.
Hab das Gessel schon tausendmal gesehen. Kein Mann nicht vermerkt, dass so zerum ist, als so schön. Hab es heint ersehen, in all Gitter Schuh, weil ich weiß, du in Gessel wohnst du. Ich fühl, wie es singt meine Schume, nur zu dir gehört mein Gesang. Ich fühl, wie es wird wie's gekommen, in meine Ohren klingt ein melodischer Gang. Hab dem grünen Baum vor dein Tier gekischt, sollen alle Menschen lachen, nur es hört mich nicht. Warten will ich du, ich weiß nicht wie viel Schuh, ich weiß nur eins, du in Gessel wohnst du.
Dylan, that was superb, and I can tell you for certain that if Seymour Rexide heard that, he would put you on his radio show in a second. I'd like to now introduce the fourth member of our company, a British actor named Max Roll, who escaped a family of 3 generations of musicians and ran away to the Yale School of Drama, and has further inflamed the passions of his life by diving not only into theater, but into Yiddish theater. So welcome, Max.
Thank you, Caraid. Nice to be with you.
Oh, it's great to see you. And I noticed, despite your theatrical focus, is that a clarinet?
Yes, it is. It's my old ball and chain. I think it's the residue of Jewish guilt that means despite going into acting, I have to carry this around with me wherever I go.
And can you play it, or is it just kind of a silent prop?
It's mainly a prop these days, but I'll give it a go.
Wow, that was lovely. I can see why your family was annoyed that you left their business. That sounded beautiful to me.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit about the character of Gareth that you're playing? He's a Yiddishist. What else can you tell us about him?
Yeah, Gareth is Jess's best friend. He is a little bit of an outsider in this particular world, so I can relate to that. He's a bit of a mystery. We know that he is Welsh, but he doesn't speak with a Welsh accent. He has quite an obsession with Yiddish, but he himself is not actually Jewish. He's not necessarily straight, not necessarily gay. His relationship with Jess is rather more complicated. They're not necessarily friends, but they're not partners either. So in this play, which there's a lot about liminality, Gareth is, I would say, probably the most liminal character in this piece.
Wow. And I know that you and Dylan have pre-recorded a scene. Could you set it up for us so that we could watch it now?
Yeah, absolutely. Of course I can. So the scene you're about to see is when Gareth arrives at Jess's apartment, and he finds her deep in her affectionately termed research zone. She's been up for a while, and she's been inspired by this afternoon meeting with the great Sonia Scheinfeld. And so she is trying to convince my character of her the deep anthropological themes that are buried within this play, Shtumer Shabes. And it's a play that no one has read in 60 years, so she's very excited by her discovery.
Well, so let's roll that scene now.
1.
Gare. Guess what year the first lesbian kiss was on American TV?
Is this a trick question about I Love Lucy?
No, but I still think you should give it a chance.
Fine. Tell me, what year did American TV succumb to the lesbian agenda?
1991. And the first lesbian kiss on the Yiddish stage?
God of Vengeance, 1906.
07.
Okay. I thought you were working on Shtumer Shabes.
I am. I'm trying to figure out what it was in a Yiddish play about widows that made people absolutely lose their shit. God of Vengeance showed 2 prostitutes kissing in 1907, and the only ones who got upset about it were prudish uptown yekkas once it got to America. There's something about widows that disturbs people. So, I did some research. Have you seen Natan Meier's new book? Well, listen to this. As in many cultures, the symbols associated with marginal people in Eastern Europe and Jewish Eastern Europe were drawn from the vocabulary of death, the realm of spirits and demons, disease and bodily unwholeness, sores, wounds, missing body parts, and filth and pollution.
Rude.
You should read more Mary Douglas. She says that the unclear is unclean. A corpse is the ultimate taboo. It's a human form, but no longer possessed of its animating spirit. We're terrified of corpses because they confuse our most sacred categories.
What on earth does that have to do with widows?
Who did your ancestors target as witches? Who was being led to the stake and having their property confiscated?
Women, of course. Older women.
Not just older women, widows. Something like 2/3 of the accused were widows.
Yeah, okay. By the way, that was England, not Wales.
Whatever. The point is, widows are neither virgins nor married women. Their status is transitional. And as Mary Douglas teaches us, like corpses, transitional beings are particularly polluting. And look at this. Today, in northern Ghana, there are dozens of witch camps full of women who have been accused of witchcraft and sent into exile. 70% of the women there were accused and banished after their husbands died.
According to an Amnesty International report, a survey of the women at the biggest camp found most residents still believed in witchcraft, but insisted that they themselves had been unfairly accused. Good fun, that.
Yeah. Do you understand? I must get my hands on this play. Shtumer Shabes. Its sole performance caused an effing riot. It made the news. There's something really deep here. I see 10 80-year-old actresses dressed in white robes, seated at the Shabbos table, silently sipping their chicken soup. And then bang! A murder! Or maybe 10 murders. It's dead husbands all the way down.
I must say I share Jess's excitement for uncovering Shtumer Shabes. I want to see both iterations of the play, the one that Sonia stars in 1938 and the one that Rokhl is creating today. So the next scene that we're going to see from Shtumer Shabes by Rokhl Kafrissen is a scene between my character, the aging diva, Sonia, and as she encounters Dylan's character, Jess, the grad student. Dylan, could you talk a little bit about the scene we're about to see?
Yes. So in this next scene, Sonia and Jess, they're getting to know each other, and they're drinking tea at Sonia's apartment. Sonia has been telling Jess how she never let anything stop her from making theater, not during the war or after. And Sonia's story hits Jess in a very personal place.
Well, let's see it. Let's see the scene.
It's going to sound weird, but you're so lucky, Mrs. Scheinfeld.
I beg your pardon?
You knew you belonged in the theater. You stayed true to yourself against the greatest odds. You touched people. The only thing I ever wanted was to be on the stage. But instead, I'm going to spend the next 4 years of my life in the library, writing a dissertation that 10 people will read, if I'm lucky, and which, if I'm really lucky, may get me an adjuncting job in Kansas. You know what the worst part is?
Kansas?
It's knowing that I'll never have an audience.
So where are the men with guns keeping you out of the theater?
At a certain point, I realized that memorizing lines was never going to get any easier, and every audition I went on became a panic attack.
So what?
Well,
In our theater, none of the directors would accept a script by a woman. To get Shtumer Shabes on the stage, it had to arrive under the name of a man. Even a story about women had to be told by a man. You have the freedom to tell any story you want without hiding.
that's true. I guess I never thought of myself as a writer. Hey, I need that. Jeez, why'd you do that?
Just checking.
Checking what?
Imagine you're on stage, facing an audience. You see a man in the front row, the one who falls asleep in the first act. You could shake him out of his pleasant dreams, make him fall in love or weep for things he never knew. But you gave up the chance. How do you feel?
I'm sorry, Mrs. Feinfeld, but you don't understand my life. It's just not that simple. Things are different now. New York is the most brutal, most competitive, most expensive place in the world to make theater. No one's going to notice if one less mediocre actor shows up to an audition.
Miss Behrman, what if I could teach you the secret to making the audience feel what you feel? To breathe only when you breathe. To faint when the Gestapo is at your door. Do you want to know how?
Of course.
Make sure you get the cheese Danish. No poppy seeds. And a little bit of vodka.
Well, Rokhl, if you're there, I know the audience wants to know, does Jess get a real acting lesson from Sonia?
Well, you'll have to tune in to find out, but I think any time spent with a character like Sonia is a lesson in drama itself, but it's not one that comes easy.
When we think of these artists, I remember hanging out with Luba and Seymour and the things that they had to escape, the wars and the famines and the pogroms and the poverty that never stopped them from an early age to well into a late age from creating art. How can you not have drama around that? But what I'm struck by their lives and Sonia's life is the courage they had to create art under all circumstances. So tell us, how was it to see your characters embodied by actors?
It's really fantastic. Of course, it's a dream for any playwright to get to see their characters embodied, and especially embodied in such incredibly talented actors. So I wanted to thank you, Caraid and Max and Dylan. Just amazing.
Well, it was definitely a lot of fun, and I know we were all looking forward to performing it on stage at the Y. But now that I have the director, Aaron, right here beside me, Aaron, if you want to lean in, what's the future, the post-pandemic future of this beautiful script?
Well, the first thing is the reading of this play, which was going to be at the Y, I think, on April 2nd. And let's see, I'm trying to find my. Yeah. There I am. So it was going to be on April 2nd.
It's reversed.
Oh, it's reversed. Getting the reading done is the first big task, and we're very excited about that and having a big live audience for that, just to see the totality of this play, which is so great, which I see as a relay kind of from our 1999-2000 production, and we were all so young and just chomping at the bit to explore Yiddish theater, to this, which is the reflection of so much. And the critic and scholar Helen Vedler calls a poem a contraption, and a play is an even bigger contraption, a linguistic contraption. So if a poem is a jalopy, this one is definitely a big boat, and I'm really excited to explore that. And and that said, well, if you want to know a little bit more about how I'm thinking about Shtumer Shabes, so it was kind of been a process for me going into it, But as the name of this program, Shin is for Shtumer Shabes. For me, it's also Shin is also for Shafen, which is a rabbit, which is a symbol of the Jewish diaspora. So, and then that word Shafen splits into two things, and which is the African Hyerlox, I believe that's the name of the animal, which is sort of a earless rabbit, and then the Eastern European rabbit, which has the ears. That sort of sent me into this sort of meditation and down the Jungian rabbit hole, because as a director, you sort of think about things and they kind of lead to other things. And so then I found this three hair sort of mosaic that they put in front of the Lithuanian churches. And those three rabbits kind of sent me down into a further investigation of the Kabbalah. So there's 4 books, as everyone knows, there's 4 books of the Kabbalah, and I toggled down kind of to the last book, which is the most mysterious one and the most magical one, and the knowledge in the Kabbalah there is so kind of pure that it is only meant for a new temple in a new Jerusalem at some future date. And that kind of really fascinated me, because that level of Jewish mysticism reminded me of the 20th century physicists, often from the Judaic mind. I'm thinking of Einstein here, the theory of relativity, and also like what Einstein was a little bit freaked out about was what he called spooky action at a distance, which was quantum mechanics. And going deeper into that, if you took those two worlds, the sort of mystical parts of the Kabbalah and 20th century physics, and you slam them in sort of an imaginative super collider and created a contraption, which is in this case Shtumer Shabes. What popped out for me, and it really popped out, were these 4 kind of actual visible rabbits. And they were kind of, so there was the up rabbit, the down rabbit, they're kind of like quarks, the charm rabbit, and the strange rabbit, which
Data privacy. Know the facts. The question of mass surveillance and privacy protection over digital platforms has become a hot topic, especially today, when so many of us are forced to use untested, commercial mass communication platforms. Indeed, the social media and communication network you are using at this very moment has likely not taken the steps to safeguard your information. Chances are it's already packaged and sold any data you created by participating in this program. We understand that many of you are concerned by these developments, and the Yiddish Broadcasting Network shares your concerns. The International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights provides that no one shall be subjected to arbitrary or unlawful interference with his or her privacy, family, home, or correspondence, and that everyone has the right to the protection of the law against such interference or attacks. A class action suit recently filed in the North-Northwest District Court of Delaware is claiming that users of these networks may have standing to sue under the International Covenant. It is unclear what the outcome of that action will be, but we here at the YBN are committed to proactive measures to serve you better. If you want to ensure that the Yiddish Broadcasting Network continues bringing you high-quality content, please take a moment to go into the comments section below and type your name, email, and favorite ice cream flavor, followed by the words, "I consent." Thank you very much. Und seid mir gesund und stark.
So if we remember, in conclusion, Mary Chase's 1944 play, Harvey.
Well, that's great. This has been our episode of Shin is for Shtumer Shabes from the Yiddish Broadcasting Network. And I just wanted to say a thank you to all of our actors. And I know I'd like to bring them all in and so that they can tell you what they're up to or to see their next broadcast. So Shane, can we patch you in? What are you up to that your fans can follow?
This Saturday night at 11:15, I'll be resuming my program After Fuller Woch, like Saturday Night Live in Yiddish, with some readings of works by Moshe Nadia in honor of May Day. Tune in Facebook Live.
Oh, well, that's wonderful. I'll definitely tune in. And Dylan, are you still with us from Ohio.
I am still here in beautiful Cleveland, Ohio.
And what are you up to?
Right. So two things. This next Wednesday, I'm going to be in a radio play through the Folks Being Alive program. And then also, I just finished a big project creating my website. So you can keep in touch with me there at dylanseders.com.
Oh, thanks so much, Dylan. I'll definitely check that out. And Max, are you still here? What
I
are you
am.
doing?
I
What are you up
am.
to?
What am I doing? What am I not doing? I'm here in body, if not in mind and spirit, Caraid. I am. So I have a project coming up with a colleague of mine from drama school who has organized a Zoom reading for patients who suffered from brain injury at a Brookhaven hospital in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So we'll be Zooming in with them and the staff there on Friday to a few of us to read some poetry and to play some music and try to give them a little bit of joy, especially in today's day and age where they can't have visitors. So that'll be extremely fulfilling, and I'm looking forward to that. And then we also have a reading of Coriolanus that I'm trying to organize with some colleagues to keep sharp and keep busy.
Oh, well, that's great. And we can find many of your impressions on YouTube by just searching
You
Max
can.
Lowell.
I need to correct some things technically, but yes, hypothetically, if you go to YouTube, type my name in and Shakespeare and such, you should be able to find me. If not today, then soon.
Thank you. And roll is ROLL for
Yes,
those of you
like the
who
bread
being at
roll
home.
to eat.
Yes. And so let's go to Rokhl for the final word of this broadcast. Rokhl, what do you have to tell us? And who's that you have with you, your little friend?
So this is my new roommate. She arrived on my birthday a few days ago. Her name is Lola. She is a baby alive doll, and she asked if she could send out a very special greeting to her cousin Linda out there. So, hello. She's also a collaborator of mine.
Well, that's fantastic. And your next steps are just to keep working on the play and its eventual.
Yeah. We're hoping that we've angered and confused most of the people out there, and that will make them want to see more. So hopefully we'll be able to bring the full play to them very soon. And you can always find me, by the way. I have a twice-monthly column at Tablet called Rokhl's Golden City, which I'm really proud of, and is all about the wonderful, wacky world of Yiddish performance and culture.
Yes, it's a fantastic column that I've loved for many years. And so this is it, guys. This has been our Shin is Shtumer Shabes from the Yiddish Broadcasting Network Pandemic Headquarters. And thank you so much to the 14th Street Y, and thank you all for tuning in.
Weit